What's up, guys? Welcome to another hour of Miracle Canine Q&A. We're gonna get started right away here. So we're gonna sandwich some of these questions together. We got a lot of questions this week. So our first questions. First one is from Sacred Hour Spas. Fantastic spa, been there before. Everybody else should go there as well. How do I get my dog to stop following me? He literally won't leave my side when I'm home. Second part of the question is from Brandy the Golden Lab. How to deal with a dog that has separation anxiety, do's and don'ts. Now, these I am sandwiching together because a lot of the time when you got a dog that follows you around very frequently, there's some degree of separation anxiety at play, and when you got a dog that has separation anxiety, they tend to follow you around a lot. So we're gonna answer these in order here. Getting a dog to stop following you around. So this one is interesting because there are a lot of dogs that do it. I mean, my dogs to some degree will follow me around throughout the house, right? But I want to make sure if I do go to physically separate my dog somehow that there's not going to be a problem with it. So I would ask you first and foremost, if you were to put your dog in another room or in a crate or try to get them to hold still or anything like that, do you have the ability to do that or not? Because that's the first step of this. There are some dogs that are a little clingy, obviously, but I need to make sure first and foremost that I have the ability to create the separation if needed, right? So a couple things. I look at first and foremost, what might I be doing to reinforce this, right? So I will see time and time again that people interact with their dogs way too much in their day-to-day, right? So they're constantly talking to their dog, they're constantly looking at their dog, they're constantly petting their dog, and they're feeding into all of the little things that their dog does on a day-to-day basis, which continuously reinforces this and puts the dog in a cycle of they're always looking for attention, always looking for information, always looking for direction, right? So first and foremost, what I would say is just go extended periods of time of totally ignoring your dog. Cesar Millan has the old philosophy of no touch, no talk, no eye contact, which I hold very true, and it's something that I use frequently with my dogs. When I come home after being gone for a while, when I am doing my own thing, right? If I'm out doing yard work or whatever it may be, I am going to, for extended periods of time, enforce no touch, no talk, and no eye contact with my dogs to get them used to the fact that this is my time right now, right? There is literally nothing you're gonna get from me, because what most people will do is the dog will be following them around and they'll be like, hey buddy, or the dog is following them around. Oh, what are you doing? Why are you following me? Or dog will be following them around and they give them a treat for something. Or they simply just tell the dog to stop following them. They'll be like, stop following me, stop doing that. Why are you doing that? This, that. But the problem is we can't reason with dogs like we could humans, right? You telling the dog, stop following me around, is gibberish to the dog, right? It means absolutely nothing. The only thing they perceive it as is, hey, how's it going? Interaction, information, this, that, right? So it's gonna keep the dog pushing you for more and more attention, right? So go blocks of like an hour, right? Of no touch, no talk, no eye contact. And for some people, this is literally the hardest thing that you could ever do in your life, is going an hour without interacting with your dog at all, right? I don't know what it is, but we just do it so much, it's almost subconscious, right? So first and foremost, I would start with going extended periods of time without interacting with your dog, and that will remove the possibility that you're doing anything to create this problem, right? The second side of the equation is then creating forced separation, right? This could be done physically through a crate, right? Or another room or a gate or whatever it may be, where you physically have the dog away from you and you're blocking the ability that they have to be able to follow you around. I would say random crate time throughout the day is really good for dogs, right? Having them be in the crate while you're there and while you're doing things, and them kind of get comfortable and used to the fact that there's gonna be things that happen that they're not a part of, is very healthy for dogs. And sometimes it's hard for them to handle initially if they're not used to it. So start with things like that. If your dog has training, you could utilize a place command, a bed command, a down command, whatever it may be. Put your dog in a corner in the room, have them hold it, and then go about your business doing your own thing and create that forced separation that way as well, right? But the idea here is that we're addressing the human side of the equation, not reinforcing it at all. And then in addition to that, addressing the training side of the equation, which is then patterning in your dog not doing that thing. My Malinois is extremely clingy. He follows me around all the time. I know I'm not reinforcing it at all, so I need to do my part in creating the forced separation. And I'll do a lot of bed stays while I'm going in and out of the house doing things, or taking laundry up and down the stairs, or whatever it may be, right? And things like that have helped him dramatically, where when I first first started doing those things years ago with him, he would literally be on the bed just whining and screeching and making all this noise because it was the hardest thing in the world for him to do, not being with me, right? What started happening is over time he got comfortable with, all right, well, if I'm not getting anything, I'm gonna be here for a little while. There's consequences for me breaking it, and he started to get better with it over time, right? So that would be the first part of this question, and addressing that side of things is both of those parts of the equation. Now, more specifically, dealing with a dog that has separation anxiety, what you really need to be worried about is making sure you're not doing anything to reinforce it. We'll see that separation anxiety will cause a dog to do things that are seemingly extremely controlling if you break them down, right? We'll see all the time. Dogs will come over and they'll either jam their head under your hand, or they'll put their paw on you, right? Or if you try to ignore them or try to do something else, they're clawing at you and trying to jump all over you and all this kind of stuff. And there's just a complete lack of impulse control with the dog viewing you as a resource that is theirs, right? Separation anxiety, contrary to popular belief, has very little to do with my dog loves me oh so much, right? It has very little to do with the fact that like, oh my gosh, we just have this such a fantastic bond. Really what it is a relationship imbalance of the dog viewing you as theirs, but them not being emotionally sound enough to work through that on their own and to handle that position of authority or being able to give you guidance. And what they do is they see you as the ultimate safe spot, and they come to you and they claw you and beg you for attention and this and that, right? So same deal, going extended periods of time of ignoring the dog, going extended periods of time of no touch, no talk, no eye contact, and then more specifically looking at the situations where your dog is essentially giving you what I call obedience commands, right? There is a big difference between a dog laying in the corner over there and me saying, come here, sit, and then petting them, versus me sitting here, dog laying over there, and then dog gets up on their own, comes over, sits, and then I pet them, right? They're both physically doing exactly the same thing. They're moving from one spot to me, they're sitting, and they're getting attention. But the difference is, in one of them, I made the dog do something in order to solicit that attention. In the other one, the dog is doing something to me in order to get me to give them attention, right? So you gotta break down those types of situations and be really conscious of them. I always tell everybody, I'm not anti-pet your dog. Obviously, we get them to enjoy them, right? But you have to be aware of the psychology behind what's going on in your dog's head every time you're interacting with them. Dogs can only ever understand one of two things. They can only ever understand when they like, or when we like what they're doing, or when we do not like what they're doing. So a lot of people resort to consoling or petting or trying to settle dogs down when they get into these anxious states of mind, when in actuality, it's okay, or don't worry about it, or good boy, like it's all perceived as reinforcement. And reinforcement does not just reinforce physical things the dog is doing or physical positions, it also reinforces emotional states of mind also. So your best bet is to just ignore the dog when they're getting anxious, or more specifically, provide consequences, obviously the other side of the equation that dogs can understand, for the physical things they're doing when they're getting anxious. Is your dog jumping? Is your dog pawing at you? Is your dog barking? Is your dog trying to break out of crates? What is your dog doing, and how can you provide consequences for those things? If they're barking in the crate when you're not home, utilize a bark collar. If they're jumping all over you, utilize an e-collar to correct them for that jumping, and then do not try to console or reassure them after that. Let them develop on their own more healthy coping mechanisms with their separation anxiety. So addressing the human side of the equation as well, addressing the consequences or the training side of the equation as well, and then working through things slowly but surely that way, and developing a more healthy relationship through training with your dog. So that's how I work through separation anxiety things. And it's a hard one because it's so relationship based. This is one of those ones that typically is 100% owner induced to some degree, right? So you gotta look at those things. You gotta make the hard changes yourself. You gotta be the leader that your dog needs for you. So hope this helps both of you. We'll see you guys next time.